those are few examples of form-based approach in our context, and I hope it's going to help the young planners, young urban designers. And actually, if we have any questions or any discussions, we can have.
Sure, sir. So thank you so much for this amazing presentation and to give us a better understanding of urban form, and especially how critical the role of design is also in terms of planning and bringing the focus on the urban character over urban uses, and especially with examples in Ahmedabad and Bhutan, like there's, be it an area in the old area which requires redevelopment, like the Ashram Road, or the new development along the riverfront, or even with Bhutan, where there's a response to heritage that's required. And also things like urban assets, like water bodies and riverfronts, and how we sort of in our modern planning have sort of forgotten to respond to them. The importance of urban form and planning with the urban form-based code approach, how it would help us to bring back the characters to the city. So it's amazing, and thank you so much, sir. Yes, we do have a few questions, and the first one I'd like to begin is, what are the faculties of urban professionals that can contribute to making of uh, these codes and regulations compared to the actual ones that are currently being made to regulate our cities?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and I would say it's not really limited to only one or two sets of fields or faculties. Of course, planners play a significant role there. Same with urban designers. Generally, planners' role is to actually plan the whole city, see the overarching vision, and within that identify different zones, different urban characters. But that cannot be done without the help of urban designers, because ultimately also what kind of urban experience you would have on street, on ground, that needs to be considered. And also the same awareness everyone needs to have, including engineers, including anyone else who is working on the implementing the plan. So unless you have a thorough understanding, a good understanding of why we have these regulations the way we have, and what kind of regulations would be the right kind of regulations to achieve the urban form, the urban experience that is desired. Unless we have that, it will be very difficult to improve our cities. So I would say it is not limited to only few faculties. Now, everyone who is working on implementing, planning and implementation of plan would require that.
Right, of course, and this profession is a collaborative profession itself. I mean, one wing does not work without the other, really. But I think it's
absolutely
that all of us come together on the same page, and with also are willing to explore ideas of making our cities better places to live. So, so with that, there's a second question that we have, like in the examples that you've shown, that there is an attempt that is being made to approach the regulations through the idea of form-based codes. What do you think that what is the best suitable form in which they will be applicable to the Indian context?
Yeah. No, I think that's a very good question. Generally, the form-based approach is a way of thinking, and when you start thinking about the city, you have to really start thinking from that perspective. Obviously, you cannot have one single set of regulations for the whole city, and therefore you need to start dividing that city into different character-based areas. And that's what you saw in many of those examples, where based on the urban character that you would like to have, or you already have on ground, based on that you start identifying the zones, and then for those zones you start identifying the particular set of regulations which are appropriate for that area. So and also a lot of times many cities have found it very difficult to change the regulations altogether from scratch. So what they also end up doing is that they end up introducing the form-based approach, form-based regulations from area to area. So there may be a smaller area like a CBD or a central area, for which then they would come up with the form-based regulations, and then they would go to the next area, and then it will be expanded to the next area, and that's actually a better phased approach. Because I think changing it suddenly for the whole city would not work. Also, a lot of times, that pilot is very helpful. So if you have done it for a smaller area, and then you can show and say, oh, now this is great. Now we can do it for other areas. The same way, if you see the examples in Pune, for example, this Jangli Maharaj Road, which is one street, or the Ounce Street, which is one street that is done as an example. And now based on that, then a lot of people are encouraged to create, design, develop such streets. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So what do you feel could be the possible challenges? Like, of course, yes, like you just mentioned, like it's not easy for a functioning city, and especially large cities like Ahmedabad, Bombay, Delhi, to suddenly adopt a completely new way of regulating themselves. So how do you think what would you think would be the most critical challenges that would arise once we start shifting it onto a larger areas and larger cities?
Right. And generally these challenges are of different kinds, because you have multiple stakeholders involved. So first is to begin with creating the right kind of awareness. And for that, you may have to end up having multiple workshops, meetings, to say that, okay, what do we want this area to be? And based on that, then you start identifying the regulations and guidelines that you would have. But before even that, you may have to even create some visualizations and say, this is existing. This is how it would look if we go based on what we are thinking, and then this is how you achieve that. So it's a multi-step approach, multi-stakeholder approach, and I would definitely say that you need to start involving stakeholders. Generally, in Indian scenario, the stakeholder engagement is not very high, and I think we need to start engaging stakeholders. Now, it can be difficult, it can be political, but at the same time, if you don't do that, then there'll be a lot of opposition, or a lot of questioning that you would face.
Right.
So, yeah.
What about planning institutions? Because there's a lot of research that goes on in a lot of institutes, urban planning and urban design institutes in our country. And there's a lot of data that gets generated. But unfortunately, when these plans are being created for all these cities, it sort of doesn't really translate back into, using the empirical data and then understanding, the character changes. And as we've seen, it only lands up becoming a land use sort of a modification plan along with a few inter connections with the mobility plans and other things like that. So how do you think that institutions can sort of empower planning agencies to sort of use the data that already gets generated in our cities, and to scale up this whole the whole idea of looking at characters of our cities in planning?
Yeah, I think I would say that still we don't have sufficient evidence-based data for this kind of developments. So I think there is an amount of research that is required. For example, as I mentioned, those two streets in Pune, or in also Gangtok and the MG Road, there are a few pedestrian streets in India. But we don't have any real evidence-based research to say that they are actually helping the businesses around, or they are helping to encourage pedestrians, or they are helping to reduce the emissions. So we need all that research. But for that, first is that we need to have these kind of pilots. And once you have the pilots, where the authorities also come out in good faith, with goodwill, to really experiment and really say that we really need to put one example in place, and really then keep on improving, because that is the only way to go. With the current issues of global warming and climate change, and also the pollution that you see in Indian cities, the only way to go is making our cities more pedestrian friendly, through improving the urban form, through improving the urban pattern, through improving the land utilization, so that we have efficient land utilization and we don't keep on sprawling and expanding our cities horizontally.
Right, right, absolutely. As all of this is like really interconnected with the way we really behave and, as urban citizens altogether.
Very
Right.
good.
So, thank you so much, sir, for giving us these detailed insights into the paradigm of form-based approach, and the opportunities that it brings to strengthen and regulate not only the built form of our cities, but also to bring focus on urban design, to start actively creating the public realm through empirical understanding of our urban living. And it was indeed a pleasure to have you, sir, on our platform. I'm sure this has motivated a lot of young professionals who joined us today to take these learnings from the masterclass forward. And we hope that we all contribute to making our cities more livable and more sustainable. So, a big
Thank you very much.
also a big thank you to all our viewers for joining us today, this evening. And we hope to see you all again next masterclass. Just a reminder again to all the students and the young professionals who would like to showcase their thesis and research capstone projects on our platform. Don't forget to take advantage of the extended deadline, which is 28th November. And to know anything more about our initiative, follow us on our social media platforms, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. And see you all next class. Stay healthy.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for the motivation.